Hi, everyone, and welcome to the She Is More Than Existing podcast. This is the place about keeping it real. It is about the everyday woman. It's about our everyday ups and downs. And this is where I leave the mystical, magical of the woo woo and I step more into the essence of the woman. Behind every role and every gift that we have is the essence of the one who is here to receive the gifts. And that is the everyday woman that we are. So this podcast is She Is More Than Existing. And it's she is for a reason. And she is literally the name of one of my cards. And she is ... And it's the last card of the Everyday Goddess Oracle cards. And it's the continual story. It's the woman that we see at the end of every difficult situation, the one that we forget to remember, the one that made the tough choices, the one that stood back up, the one that has gotten through difficult times. And this is the version of self that we really want to communicate with, that we really want to inspire and talk to and to see again and see come to life within ourselves. It's so easy to pick ourselves apart. So I want to talk a little bit about self-deception and how it's so easy to deceive ourselves and to get ourselves so tangled and lost in our own stories. And there is no one that deceives us or betrays us any more than we betray ourselves. And it's a continual conversation that I have with many women on a daily basis in my work, whether it is coaching, empowerment, transformation, whether it is spiritual, emotional, even in the woo woo work, even in the mediumship work. It is so easy to step into that sense of deception. And when beautiful women come back to communicate through to me from spirit world, they're often tell me these things like if I would have only, if I had a only, if I had a listened, like all of those things. And they show me those versions of themselves that they really wish they could have sometimes been on earth. As I got this hair stand up on top of my head. Uh, it wish they could have been here on earth, that they wish they could have existed in on a regular basis and been honest to themselves about. So what we're doing when we're living in that sense of self, like really truly um taken away from ourselves, is that self-betrayal, is there's always a deficiency somehow in our lives. It's we're always in the lack of the negative part. It's always the story that something is missing, that there's something more that we should have had, something more that should be in our lives. And it's hard to be able to see ourselves. It's easy to see somebody else's. Like if your friend is going through something, if your friend is struggling with a betrayal story, it's easy to see what somebody else has happened. It's easy to see that somebody else is, neglecting their own needs or not listening, not seeing the red flags or not wanting to see the red flags. But it's so hard to be able to see your own. It's amazing what we do to ourselves. And so it's really about, and in all of my more than existing work, I'm like, you have to break up with you. It's the one person, it's the version of you that you must break up with. And so what you're doing is you're breaking the habit and the patterns that comes with it, but you don't know the habits and the patterns. Well, you know to some degree. Yes, we do know. But at some degree, at some level, we don't recognize it. We don't see it. And we can see it so easily in others, but we can't see it in ourselves. And so when we can really truly come back into the relationship with ourselves and see that self first, and begin to see that version of yourself, then you can begin to see that relationship that you have with yourself, like with deficiencies, with lack, areas of lack or betrayal that is sits within our own selves. And so it is in our relationship first. It's easy to see it in because we have the proofs in the pudding to the people that have cheated, betrayed, that we've had to go through all of trying to hang on to a relationship and then lose that, and then the relationship goes, and then you're in the sad story, and then you kind of get mad. And the only way that we can really let go sometimes of somebody is to create some sort of, like, we have to go from love to hate. And it's amazing how you can love somebody and then hate them. Like it takes one ingredient to turn something sour. But we don't realize that we live with that poison within ourselves, that we are always poisoning our own self, our own potion, our own magic, that we are diluting it, that we're watering it down because we can't see so clearly the things that we do and the stories that we chase, and the old myths that we chase and that we believe to be true. And so it is like it kind of is a sense of a constant dissatisfaction with ourselves. If only I could get to this point, if only I had this. So it's like often what you're doing is that you are robbing your today's of your you're robbing your today's of your tomorrows. Like you're robbing your today's by really truly, if only, when I get there, when I get to this point, when I have this. And one of those big myths that we have around that comes into our body image. And it's like, oh, I don't want a picture taken now. I won't get no pictures taken. I'll wait until I get this size. When I look like this, I'll go have fun. When I look like this, I'll go on a date. When I look like this, I'll go on a holiday. When I look like this, when I have this in my life, when I have this ideal body, or when I lose 10 pounds, what changes in the 10 pounds? What really truly changes? A body image. But that person who's deceiving you will still deceive the person who is 10, 20, 40, 50, 100 pounds. That self-deception will still be there, because it will just find a new area to really truly exist within, because we always have this owing something. We always have this search for something, and it really impacts and affects the pieces and parts of you. And at the heart of the matter is this version of self that is crying in the background. But when we live in that sense of seeking and looking for something and waiting for something, there is always a level and degree of betrayal. And we often will, sometimes we get up on that little soapbox and say, I would never, ever tolerate being betrayed. I would never let anyone betray me. And I would never put up with that bullshit. But yeah. Have you heard your stories? Have you seen the things you do to yourself? Have you ever noticed? Take a real good look, because it happens. It really, truly happens. And it happens on such a level that sometimes it is really hard to see. So we wish the opportunities, this sense of adequacy, and living in this inadequate sense of self. It plays out in that area of our lives so much. And always looking for some reason. We just have to add that ingredient, right? And so it's a continual poisoning of our thoughts, of our wants, of our desires, of our needs. And we're always chasing things. And because we have it happening within ourselves, it spreads, and it becomes a part of many relationships that may be in your life, that you may be existing in. And so I've got little notes so I can kind of stay on track a little bit here, is that one of the places that you look at it is, in order for people to like me, in order for me to be friends with people, what do you have to give up of yourself? And so we go to this action step within our emotions of, the first thought is often a thought that inspires us, and the second one is the one that often entraps us. And that's the one that when we're not in our truest of self, when we're in our stories, and it's the one that takes action. And it's that version of ourselves that takes action towards the movement into that self-betrayal, into that living in a constant delinquent state. It's like a bank account that's always in the negative, and we can never get out. So if we look at it like, say you have an overdraft, and the overdraft is not really there, but you get paid and you put money in there. And when you put money in there is, oh yeah, well, now I have money. But you've already been in the overdraft of that much. And so all you're doing is paying off the overdraft. So it's always in that constant negative. It's always living as if you have to give something more, or that you owe something more. And what really brought this forward for me to really talk about this was in putting together the new decks of the Everyday Goddess Oracle cards. And so they come in this beautiful little box. Well, the new boxes look pretty. This is a little worn out. And they're these gorgeous cards, and they have such power, and they're so well done. And this is the beautiful booklet. Like, it's a great package and it's a great product. And I know the work. I know the power of the Oracle and how they help people out. But yet, in the first order of them, I really felt I needed to dress them up. And in my conversations with myself, I was convinced it was just because I love to really present something beautiful and give people that little extra, to always go the extra mile. So are you someone who thinks they always, if I just go the extra mile, if I just put in that little bit extra? And where's that coming from? And so anyway, I packed up the cards and I put little ribbons and then little rows in the center of them. And then I folded up this tissue paper and put that in, and then sealed up the box. And then when they're sent out, they're wrapped up again. And then they got another ribbon, and then they got another bow. And then I once watched somebody open up the box, and they ripped out the tissue paper. They ripped off the ribbon and the little rows. Didn't even look at it, just threw it with the rest of the garbage, ripped the plastic off, and all they wanted to get to was what was inside. They just wanted to get to what was inside. They wanted to get to the product. They were so excited to get the cards and to hold the cards. They wanted this. They didn't want all the fluff. They didn't want all the extra. It didn't matter to them. That was all my story. It was all my, and I just thought, when the second order came, I just heard I heard the Oracle, the Everyday Goddess Oracle, speaking to me. And she just said, don't fluff me up. I'm good enough the way that I am. I have everything that I need, and this is what people want. And that was a defining moment. So as I've been packing up the assembly line to the second deck, is that, and I think I made a video while I was doing these, which I think I'll also share that as well. It'll be an add-on, but this is more the podcast part. And so I put the cards, so I start putting the cards in the box, and I'm just the cards, just the booklets, put us in the box, leave us like we are. And it really hit home that, what do I need to fluff it up? What do I need to keep adding something extra? The hope of adding something extra is always that, well, maybe it'll be enough for people. Maybe if I put a little more fluff in, if I take that video and I just make it prettier, if I do this, I do that. And it's like, that's not it. That's not what people are seeking. It's you are what people are seeking. But you're not enough for you, and you don't believe in you. And so you're always deceiving yourself, because there is an aspect, there's a little piece still in there that's still hidden in the shadows that just keeps saying you're not enough. So every ribbon, every rose, every piece of tissue paper was all a little piece of self-deception. It was a little piece of the story that has been a lifetime of just going the little bit extra, staying at work extra long. And how many times have you done that? Who really sees it? What's it really gaining? It was in the beauty industry, in my years of hairdressing. I would stay that extra hour, extra 2 hours. I would sacrifice my precious time, which would be the positive of being with my child, to stay at work for other people. And I don't begrudge them of that. And I don't begrudge that experience in my life. But I now know that there was a piece of me that was figuring, if I did all of that, I'd be enough. And it wasn't conscious. I wasn't aware of it. It was just something that I told myself, that's just who I am. I just love to work. I just love being here. I love being with people. But did I really love being with people, love being at work, love staying working till I was so exhausted that I couldn't stand up? Did I really love that more than I loved being home with my daughter when it was a closing time, when it was shut down time, when the job was done and it was time to go home and I could have been gone home? Could other people really truly make other arrangements in their lives to step in the time that the business was open? Does Walmart stay open extra time? Does Sobeys stay open until, give them a call, and just the grocery store, like a chain grocery store? Does it say, just, just call in and just tell us that you're going to be really late and we're going to stay, and we'll rearrange all of our schedules to make sure we are here for you? No, no, it does not. Now, so if you give yourself a way to see things in a whole different way, a bit ludicrous, it makes it so that you can see it differently, so that you can look at the habits and the behavioral patterns that we have that have been so either conditioned, programmed, or that we have always been trying to be enough. Because we have a lot of stories that really play out in our lives. And so call up the grocery store, call up Walmart and just say, hey, stay in, and they'll be like, oh yeah, just come on in. It's like, we are happy to accommodate you. We don't care about anything else. All we care about is accommodating you. And they'd be like, no, this is our, and it's a no. This is our hours of operation. This is when we are open, and it's called boundaries. And it's called being self-aware, and it's called creating value, and it's called integrity. And there's so many other words that can be put in here to really truly explain that. This is what we have. This is when it's available. This is when I'm available. And so this always puts us in this sense of deficiency. It's a sense of lack of. And if you were to break down your stories, break things up, and look at those areas of where that sense of self-betrayal really sits in our lives, it's in every kind of crevice and corner in our lives until we begin to stop betraying that self. And so when anyone is listening, they say, well, I don't stay for nobody. I don't do nothing any extra. I don't do anything for anyone. Look at your closest relationships, which also includes, look at your relationship with yourself. Don't just look outside of yourself. Look deep inside yourself. And so same thing with, it's like, when I have this much money, or when I have this position, when I have this career, when I have this life, when I'm this good. And I see it so often in the business aspect of my business and coaching. And it's like, oh, well, I have to really offer myself out at this much lower price. And I'm like, why would you be below the standard of pricing? Well, because, I'm new at it. But did you not invest into this? Yes. Well, you're below standard. And so what is the why behind being below? Is it because there is a fear that if your price is the average price, you will not get any clients? Well, you will not have anyone come to you. What is the story? And look at it. And what is your true worth? What are you bringing to the table? What do you bring to the table? What qualities, what wisdom, what knowledge do you come with? And so then when I bring it to, if you had to go see the lawyer, would the lawyer, whether just at a university, just beginning, would they say to you, oh, I'm working at bargain prices, so I'm the discount price, and I'm going to give you the discount price because I'm a discount? No, they would say, I earned this degree, I became a lawyer, and this is the start, this is the standard of where we start, and this is where I am. There's no discount, there's no sale, you don't put a sale on something. And all of those things become a deeper story of this sense of losing yourself to the narratives that are continuing in your mind. Because the mind is telling you a story. The mind has its view because it is going to memories, it is tapping in, and there is a need that is in the delinquent, that's in the negative, that you are trying to fill. And when we're trying to fill up on that negative, it will constantly be in the negative, because even if you get swarmed with a lot of, say, clients or people in your life, that your life becomes so filled up with people. But if you're over here and you're still the discount, and all these people are growing and thriving, but you're still the discount, what happens? What happens to you? What is going on within you? And then trying to rise up and out of this is the snake pit. You've put yourself in that snake pit energy. And so this is where we look at, you know, what are my real needs? What is those real needs? And what are those needs that need to be met? So I can go back to these beauties. And so these packaged up and put in the box and being sold and put out there is that, you know, there's a great product with great quality. And it's something that is beautiful. And in its form, with or without the book, no matter how much you separate it, it's still something that has a greatness to it. But this is the package. This is it. It's everything. So it's about your presence. And all people want to be is they need your presence. They want your service. They want what you bring to the table. They want you. So it doesn't have to be business. This is also in our personal lives. There's something about you that they want to be in your presence. But if you don't know your worth, if you have this story of self-betrayal, then other people have it as well. And so what do we need in that sense of knowing our basic needs? Our basic needs is food, water, survival, roof over our head. You know, those things are so important to us. Like those are things that we need. Those are an absolute need. But do we need everyone to love us? Do we need $1 million in our bank account today? Do we need 100 friends? Do we need everyone to kiss our ass? Do we need everyone to validate? Do we need everyone to be happy with us? Do we need everyone to like us? No. No, we don't. Where do we need to really go the extra mile? And the really going the extra mile is to put your neck out there, stretch yourself out to the possibility of reaching into and communicating to the higher self. What would the highest degree, the highest version of yourself tell you? And so if you don't want other people to really, truly mistreat you, why would you mistreat yourself? Why would you be unkind to yourself? We teach people how to treat us. And that's such a truth. Such a truth. We get lost in our dreams. We get tangled up in our dreams. And we lose sight of bringing our gifts into our dreams and into our life. And we also lose sight within using our gifts for ourselves. And so if we have this, so let's just say, for example, that you have this beautiful dream and you just want a little, just say, let's just go boutique. Now you're the boutique. You want this little tiny boutique and you see it. And it's just so quaint and it's so beautiful, but it may not make you millions, but it brings you to a place within yourself that you find such joy in your heart, such contentment. But then the one person walks in and they start to step into your dream. And they start to take that dream and they start to tell you, oh, you know what? You should go even bigger. So you should rent a bigger space. Do you ever question, why don't you go get yourself a bigger space and start your business? Or do you start to say, well, maybe you're right. A lot of people will live through telling other people how to grow their dreams. And you will start to listen to that other energy. And you will betray that feeling that you would have had, that sense of that you would have gotten inside of yourself. And so now this same person says, oh, well, if you're going to do that, well, you're going to have to open it up and you could probably bring in other people. You could probably bring in another investor. You can probably bring in different products. Oh, if I were you, this town really needs this. This town really needs. Well, that's the instigator. That's the trickster energy that's coming in. And it's like feeding off of those dreams and those desires. But if you don't have the solid foundation to just hold on to your dream and to live in your dream doesn't become your dream anymore. Your dream is lost. And that is our life. So when somebody says to you, when you look in the mirror and you put an outfit on and you're not thinking of size, you're not thinking of anything, but you just feel good. Just feel good. And you, for a very split second, you really look in and you smile, go, this feels good. I like this. And then you start remembering thoughts and you start thinking about other thoughts. You start thinking about somebody else's thoughts that became words that were spoken to you, like, oh, I'm not sure if I like that color on you. If you lost a little more weight, like over the years, you would have probably heard that 100 times. And you will start to see all of the image of the negative of those people's thoughts on your body, on you. And everything that was just so good to you now becomes so rotten to you. Yeah. And that's how we betray ourselves, is that you had an automatic response and it was your first response. And it was right. I feel good. I look good. What else matters? In this moment, I'm happy. But we have to destroy our own joy. We burst our own bubble. We take away from those beautiful dreams and beautiful opportunities. We get lost. We stop believing in ourselves. We get caught in the lack of stories. And instantly, we start to deflate and we start to break away from what is. And so then we have to add extra. So then that same outfit that felt good, well, now you may feel the need to put a Skims underneath it, or, some sort of body hugging, one of them freaking suits that suck you all in. So you look like you got nothing. And now you can't breathe. Now you're uncomfortable, but now you're looking good. Now you're looking good for society. Oh, look at me now. I'm just good. Now I'm good because now I look thinner, but I'm uncomfortable as fuck. I can't get comfortable. But I look at me. I look good. So the rest of the night, you walk around in this uncomfortable skin and you will exist in that. And you will convince yourself that you're happy, but yet you're miserable. So whatever happiness and whatever joy of the experience that you're about to be in, of the enjoyment of an evening, is now not really fully enjoyable. It's half-ass because what was comfortable, what was happy is now gone. And this is where we keep contributing to the negative. We keep giving ourselves less and taking more from that self. And the more that we do that to ourselves is the more that there is this sense of this sense of lack that exists in our lives. We are depleting and we're going down hard. But it's so habitual and such a habit to do those things. And we are conditioned to really, truly put ourselves on discount, to discount ourselves, to discount our worth, to devalue ourselves and not even blink an eye at it, to sacrifice the things that are most important to us, that matter the most, to fluff it up, to put the extra on, to add the cherry on top. The cherry don't matter because how many people is going to take the cherry off and put to the side? My door just opened. There's nobody in my house. Yeah. So when we look at life in those ways, I'm going to get back on track here. This is where we start to be like, this is where we're really like, this is emotional, spiritual immaturity in our lives. This is where we really stunt our growth and stunt our opportunities, because if you're known as the discount, it's hard to become the top shelf. It's hard to become the elite. It's hard to become the top of the line. And so what is wrong with being the top of the line? But if you've had a programming in your head about not being standing out, don't be a show off, don't think you're better than anyone. You better don't let pride get in the way. Is that you will misconstrue healthy pride for arrogance. You will devalue yourself, and you'll devalue the worth on what you bring to the table, because you'll be making sure that you're always making sure you're the everybody, that you sit with the everybody energy. And it's not that there's anything less about the everybody. It's just that everyone has an opportunity to place that value, and you can still be a part of the everybody, but you can know this sense of the higher self. That higher self, don't call itself the shadow. That higher self doesn't come down and say, oh, poor little muffin. Poor little muffin is down there, and poor little muffin is just like kicking her feet and kicking the rocks. And she's just struggling because she's just sad because nobody's being her friend. And oh, I should just give up everything I have up here and I should come down. And instead of inspiring her to come up, I should come down. Instead of reminding people that they could really truly make the investment into themselves, instead of saying to people that this is my hours of operation, this is when I'm available, this is when I'm available for friendship, this is when I'm available for my children, this is when I'm available, but this is also my time, this is when I have to give back to myself. We don't. We fall victim, and we stunt that growth. We stunt our own self, and we just wonder, what more can we do to make people see us, to make people appreciate us, what more do you have to do? You're existing in a world of shadows. You have to know you. You have to know that value. You have to know that worth. And I can promise you that I have done that with everything that I have done. I over-explained and justified and made sure everyone knew that I wasn't a professional writer, that all of my work is written in a certain way. Why am I explaining myself? Why don't I just put my work out there and be fucking proud of it and let it sit out there and leave it out there, and people will find, the people that need it will find it. Those that judge it, that's on them. I can't make people like it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what their opinion is. It's the fact that I did it. It's the fact that you've done it. Look at the things that you have done. Look at the things of where you have succeeded. Look at those great accomplishments. Look at those accolades that you've done for the right reasons. But look how many things you have chased to try to be enough in people's lives. Look at how many things that you've tried to keep improving on, that you kept trying to make better, that you kept trying to fight a system. There's flaws everywhere. There is an embedded seed, a rotten seed, a poison that is placed everywhere, including in ourselves. And places like social media, places like advertisements, magazines, TV, movies, plant the seed that makes it so that you are disillusioned, so that you get caught in the illusions, those illusions of the veils of illusions is what we call it, the lies, those things that blind us, the things that stop us from being able to see the greatness, the glory, the beauty, the awe, and that we originally arrived as enough, that we are still enough, and that we are more than enough to be able to know our value, and that we are worth. We are worth the investment into, and we're worth being able to not just to continue to let things fall away, but to begin to add value back in, invest back in to the self. And it's not in a fight or having to reach out to everyone and say, F you, I'm going to do this all on my own, but in just saying to yourself, I will not deceive myself again. I will not tell myself a lie. I will not tell myself something that is not true to get me to respond from shame or guilt, that I will not guilt or shame myself into doing things that I know is going against the character of my true authentic self. And the more we can step into that, the more that we start to feel this sense of satisfaction. Because as Rose says in Wine and Chips, she fought her whole life to be on the top shelf. She negotiated off the best of her. In archetypes, we call it the prostitute. She prostituted out the best of herself to please somebody else, to just be enough someday, to hopefully that somebody could see her value, see her worth. But it was her that needed to see her value. It is her that needed to look in and see that she was worth that. And in the end, we all have that one place that we're all going to. And in the meantime, she missed the opportunity to really truly live in embody and her full flavor of being able to use her gifts and enjoy them and appreciate them. Because how can you appreciate the beautiful gifts of yourself when you're too busy trying to make them enough to please everyone else? Spitting, to make them enough to be able to make other people happy. And this really, truly stunts us and affects us and influences so many areas of our lives. And we don't look at it in that way, that we see it as a betrayal. And often you'll see it in work. It's like, oh, that if you don't do this, if you don't do that, that'll be like suicide. Like you will so pay the price for that. There'll be come at a cost. Come at a cost to who? Because losing myself is costing me more than I can afford to lose. So asking yourself, who does it come at a cost to? It comes at a cost to us. And so in creating these, it came at a cost to add all the extra fluff. They don't make a lot of money. There's not a lot of bottom dollar monies that's made from these. And it's not but it was not whatever it was ever intended for. And the joy and the happiness is bringing it back to the organic and what these beautiful cards were intended for women, for us to be able to come together in groups to share and to be able to see women open up and feel inspired, to see that they're going in reverse, that things are happening. There's something magical that takes place in that ability to be able to share. But when you know that worth and that value, you don't put yourself on discount. I would say the same thing in the hair industry all the time. I used to say to girls who are like, oh, it's a slow week, it's slowing down. I'm like, we live in even flow. We're in the flow. This is flow. It's always this time of the year. Well, we should put a sale on and we should discount our colors and we should discount this. And I'm like, so that discount that you're putting on, that money we're taking off, you're going to go home and tell your kids that now this food that would go on their table is not going to go on their table because it's going to save somebody else the money and it's going to put food on their table. They're going to be able to eat this week, but you're going to have a lack of just so you can beg somebody to sit in your chair. Well, that's not how it is. And I'm like, you have to look at it in the harshest degree sometimes to be able to see the why behind it, so that you start fighting for you, because you start seeing that worth and the value. You start appreciating you enough to start to not to devalue, depreciate the opportunity to bring things into your life. So I'm like, if we want to discount anything, if we want to put a discount on, maybe we should put it on something that is not of you and your service. Let's find another way. Let's find another way to be able to do this. Let's offer something that's an add-on, that's a bonus. Let's give something such as, a free deep conditioner. Let's give something that is a give, that is a win-win for both. That there is a win over here and a win over there, and then all is winning. But when one is coming, when you are going into the lose and you accept that that's just the way it is, and that's just who we are, and that's just how we do things, that is so ingrained in ourselves that we don't realize how deeply it is. And I know that sounds kind of harsh sometimes, and that's hard to look at, but that's hard truths. That's hard truth. But finding the balance and the time, sometimes it is time. And sometimes it is the value that you give to others in just being able that when they are in your presence, that you give your all, that you give your best. Because if you're going to give shitty service, to people, you can't charge that price. So if you're depleted, if you're tired, and you can't give your all, then you are also devaluing. It comes back and forth, right? And so if you're able to exist in your sense of value, in the gain, in where there is an appreciation, so everything in your life is in appreciation and is in growth, then you will be more likely to be giving your all. You'll be more likely to be giving your all when you are there to be of service. And it shows and it glows, and it's such a powerful, influential energy. And it's really time to really look at this, because we have been so blindsided by the imposter light, I call it, by the illusions, by the false light. And the false light, and so it's a little woo-woo here, but the false light and the illusions is all of the social media things. It's all of those places and all those people where you see them, oh, I do this for free, but yet they're sponsored, yet they have somebody giving them a pile of money on the other side. They're not living in the depreciation. They're not living in the negative. They're very much living in the positive. You have to see all sides of things. And because we have those filters, those imposter lights, is that we are watching a out of balance within ourselves. And we see it in relationships. We see it everywhere. And I will share this other video. That's just a video, just me sitting at the table downstairs, rambling off, as I'm putting the cards in. And some of this is in it as well, but this is just a little more structured, a little more put together. But I really want you to look at that. Really take that good look of self-betrayal, of depreciation. And I just know how much love and value goes into this, and the teamwork that goes into this, and the balance of giving and receiving that it takes, because it takes somebody believing in me to help me do this. And that's Lisa Richard. And so but you have to create that sense of balance of giving and receiving and appreciation. And appreciation goes a long way. And so if something is coming to you as that sense of coming from the gift, you better damn well appreciate the gift. And if somebody is sharing their gift with you, you better be giving back in, not in a way of begging on your knees, but in the way of appreciation. Appreciation brings value. It brings up the energy. It brings back the light. And so when we can appreciate what we bring to the table and appreciate ourselves, and we stop betraying ourselves, is that we also stop telling ourselves our lies and our half-assed truths about the things such as, nobody appreciates me. And nobody gets me, and all of those things that we tell ourselves. But also, on the flip side of that is that, create balance is in the balance of giving and receiving. And so creating the balance of giving and receiving so that we're not falling out of alignment, and that we know our worth, we know our value, and both sides of everything gets to rise up, and we rise together, and we will go much farther in life the more that we rise. And I pause because I have a whole nother conversation that just started to come into my head about betrayal, about self-betrayal, and about little narratives that we tell ourselves about how nobody appreciates me. It's ourselves that don't appreciate ourselves. It's us that do that. And yes, it does happen outside of us, but the biggest enemy that we have is within ourselves. And I'm going to speak more about the enemy within in my next podcast. But I want to end this one because it is coming up to 50 minutes. I just want to say that pay attention. And I would love to hear back about your stories, about areas of just think of the woman in the mirror. Think about the comfortable shoes that you go to put on and how you sacrifice your comfort for beauty because you feel the standards, or you have to be a certain way, or that we can only wear a certain thing, or that you may love long hair, but everyone in the world has always told you you look better in short hair. It's like, because everyone else has told me I look good in short hair, I have to wear short hair, but I've always longed to have long hair. Then why wouldn't you ever try having long hair? Why wouldn't you ever give to yourself the opportunity to at least give yourself the rite of passage to try it out, to see if you actually like it? Because how much of your things in your life is because other people have told you that it wouldn't look good, that it doesn't suit you, that that's not who you are, that that's not who we are, that's not what we do. And you have listened to that for long enough. Isn't it time to really break up with those stories, break up with those versions of yourself, and begin a beautiful, new, healthy relationship? One that does not include self-betrayal, but balance. It's an alignment and great appreciation for yourself and for others, because people will love you so much more in a healthy way, and they will appreciate your boundaries because they will be inspired by your strength to be able to stay true to you. I send you so much love. Thank you for being here with me today, and I look forward to sharing the next one, which I will talk about the inner enemy story. And I really want to bring some wine. I want to bring some wine. I want to bring Rose in a little bit more as well. We did bring in the Everyday Goddesses. So if you're interested in purchasing the Everyday Goddess Oracle cards, they are directly on the website, as are all 3 books. This is the newest one, Wine and Chips. And thank you for being here with me today. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen. And I hope this inspires you in some way. Send you much love. This is She Is, and she is more than existing.